Hey, what's up, everyone? For today, I have a brand new painting. This one is an alla prima one, so everything is being painted all at once. This is kind of like a study. I've been playing around with this new concept, sort of a play on my old concept, but the idea is what if I put all the detail inside the really intense color and have a lot of fun, loose impressionism, loose expressionism, whatever you want to call it, in the subtle colors. So it's kind of a reverse of what I usually do. Normally, the really colorful parts of my paintings are really abstract and very expressionistic. But this time I am doing it a little bit different. I am doing some very subtle greens for this first pass. So what you're seeing at the very beginning of this painting is I am just trying to get the general shapes of the face. I'm using my usual block-in routine where I just do the big shapes first, get the medium size shapes, but I stop around the medium shapes. I don't want to put any more detail in this first few passes than just the medium shapes. So you'll see the shadows for the eye wells, you'll see the general location of the nose, the mouth, the overall head shape. But I'm trying to keep that loose. I don't even want it to be that accurate because I want this to be super loose around the perimeter of the color. So what's going to happen after you see this part? So about halfway into this video, if you want to fast forward, I totally understand. I get into the color where I decide to play with some purples. So it's kind of a pinkish purple color, a little bit of both, maybe a little pink, a little purple. But I end up getting the fine details. I put the eyes in, I put the nose in, part of the mouth. I just do a little bit of the mouth and I let that color just kind of hang out right in the middle of the face. So it's not meant to be one of those paintings where it's got a perfect finished quality across the whole video. It's just meant to be kind of a study. It's on paper. This is done on some gessoed paper. It's a 9 by 12 inch from Clairefontaine. Really great paper from Clairefontaine. You can actually paint right on this oil primed paper, but I like the gesso on top. I don't know if it's oil primed. I don't know if you're really supposed to be priming or putting gesso over oil primed paper. It's not actually oil primed, just whatever they treat the paper with. It really holds up well to oils, but I find that it does a little bit better with a thin coat of gesso. Anyway, I like that. I like the finish of the paper. I've been just kind of, especially for studies, I really like the very low stress that I put on myself when I'm just doing a study on paper. If I use one of my nice panels, like from Trekell, I kind of feel like it has to be this perfect piece. But when I'm just playing around, I like the I like the feel of this paper. I am using Trekell brushes. The brushes are brights. They're the Spectrum brights from Trekell. I'm using sizes from 6 to 20 or 4 to 20, something like that. And you're just seeing my usual process though, where I'm just blocking things in, slowly sculpting the face into place. I have no name for this painting. If you want to give me a name idea, feel free. This video will be available over on Patreon, over on my Patreon account here in the next week or so. If you do want to see other things on my Patreon account, I got a bunch of tutorials, a bunch of exercises. I would call this more on Patreon more of a demonstration, but I am talking through the whole thing so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm thinking. Other things I'm doing here, let's see. Oh, my colors are sort of my new twist on my usual colors. It's a very impressionistic style palette, but I did decide to go with a couple changes. So instead of using burnt umbers or burnt siennas, I am replacing that with an ivory black and a transparent oxide red. I find that I can get the exact same colors that I need just by replacing those two, the burnt umbers, burnt siennas with the ultramarine blue, or replacing that with the ivory black and the transparent oxide red. The rest of my colors from bottom to top, it's ivory black, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, and then it's the alizarin, or excuse me, it's the transparent oxide red, alizarin claret from Michael Harding, cadmium red, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow light, and titanium white. I don't think I really used many colors other than the black, the ivory black, and the titanium white, the ultramarine blue, and the phthalo blue. I felt like those were like the only colors I really needed, especially to, and then some cadmium yellow. Cadmium, just so you know, cadmium yellow mixed with ivory black and some white makes a really nice subtle green. And that's how I got these really subtle greens, is just by those three colors, the ivory black, titanium white, and the cadmium yellow. It's perfect if you want some really subtle, cool greens. And that's what this first layer is mainly just those few colors. Then once we get to the next part of this painting, I do switch it up and I use a lot of alizarin claret, a lot of ultramarine blue, and a little bit of phthalo blue, I think, to some degree, if I remember right. But you're seeing the whole process here. You're seeing my palette. I've sped this up about 3.5 times speed. The whole painting took about 3 hours. And the medium is my usual go-to medium right now. I switch it up, but my usual medium is 4 parts odorless mineral spirits to 2 parts stand oil. So that's what I'm using for my medium. I also have a little bit of linseed oil on my palette. That second to top little container in the top left corner of my palette is just linseed oil. I use that to clean my brush so that I don't always have to use my odorless mineral spirits. If I use my odorless mineral spirits all the time, I don't like inhaling that stuff any more than anybody really wants to. So I like to use linseed oil to clean my brush. You can use walnut oil. Really, any oil will clean your brush pretty well, but I just have linseed oil. That's what I have in my studio most of the time. And that's what I use to kind of give my brush a fairly decent cleaning. If I need a really good cleaning, I'll dip it in my odorless mineral spirits to really clean it off. But that is about it for what's going on with this painting. I think it would be great if you could like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And at this time, I think I'm just going to go ahead, let you watch the rest of this painting process. Just know that eventually I get into some really fun purples that play with the greens. I think it works out pretty well. Let me know if you think these colors work out well. I think they did, the greens and the purples together. It's a balancing act for sure. Greens and purples, it's a tricky set of colors. So you got to get the saturation levels just right. You don't want them both being super saturated or it can look really gross in my opinion. So that is about it. I'll let this just play on. I'm going to put some music in the background. So please enjoy the making of this alla prima painting. Talk to you next time.